Thank you all for
Donna,
coming today. It's a great crowd.
With the mic so we can
Oh,
see.
right. Sorry, I'm hearing impaired, so
Move the whole thing so we can see your adorable
My face?
Yeah.
You want to see my face? Hello, can you hear me now? Okay, great. My name's Donna Slawsky. I'm a mosaic artist, and I've been working with mosaics for, God, probably about 15 years. My husband and I moved here to the Gulf Coast of Florida in about 12 years ago. We lived in Greenwich Village in New York City, and I just became absolutely fascinated with mosaics. I think the thing that really, the first time I got the inkling was that it was something that was going to be part of my life was this film I saw, and I don't remember the name of the film and I don't remember what it was about, but all I know is that there's a scene where a woman is, you know, in her kitchen and she's getting divorced and she's really angry and frustrated, and she takes a set of dishes and she throws it all on the floor and they smash into 1,000 pieces. And then the next scene you see her making a piece of art out of it on the wall of her kitchen. And I thought, that is so inspiring, to take something broken that comes out of anger and make it into something beautiful. And that's why I do mosaics, because I break things and then I put them back together to make them into something beautiful. And I think it's a great metaphor for our lives too. So anyway, enough of that philosophy. So that's me. This is my piece, which is hidden right now by the screen, but the piece is called Say Their Names, and what I'm going to go through today is the inspiration, the materials, the evolution, and the tools that I used. The piece is inspired by the tragic death of George Floyd and other African American and people of color who were murdered by police. These people were unarmed. So that was my inspiration, and when all these events were happening and all the Black Lives Matter marches were happening, I was really thinking maybe there will be some change this time, systemic change. So I was very touched and inspired by what was happening and that summer, and so, you know, all of this really was, I knew I wanted to do a piece of art, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So, I don't know, many years ago, Jim and I were in Atlanta, and we were at a crafts fair, and I saw those 3 ceramic faces in a ball by a ceramic artist, and I said, those are really interesting, and for some reason I just picked them up, I bought them. And as many artists do, we pick up all kinds of stuff at yard sales and thrift shops and say, I'm going to use that one day. Okay, so everything I do basically is repurposed. I very rarely buy anything new for my art. Sometimes I have to buy tiles and stuff like that, but in terms of glass, I use recycled glass from stained glass artists. I use broken china that's been used, obviously. So what happened was, the first iteration of the piece was actually just the small rectangular plaque. And even the plaque is repurposed. Jim and I had a restaurant gallery in the Village of the Arts in Bradenton, and I used to sell these plaques with little sayings on them, and I brought some home with me after we closed the restaurant, so I used that. And the idea of the piece is there's a slave on the left, there's an African royalty, let's say, in the center. And there's the modern Black man, in this case, on the right. It's surrounded, initially, it was surrounded by names that were prominent in the news at the time. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Trayvon Martin. As you can see, you can look around, Ahmaud Arbery, Michael Brown, Philando Castile. These are all names that unfortunately are very recognizable to us. When I read about the Rebels exhibit, I thought, you know, this would be a great piece to enter in that exhibit. And I'd never really, well, scratch that. So this piece, when I realized I was going to enter it in this exhibit, I decided I needed a lot more names. So I went to websites, and this was one of them I went to, is Say Their Names. If you do a search on Google for Say Their Names, you'll find lots of websites with, unfortunately, hundreds or thousands, didn't ever really count it, of names going back to the 1970s with people's ages and when they were murdered. So the point of this piece is that each one of these names represents a person. Each person was a mother or a father or an uncle or an aunt or a sister or a brother. Some people loved them and they loved people. And all of their lives were destroyed. So it's not just one person who was murdered. It basically bled out into everyone in their lives, and even us, those who didn't know them. So I want to go through a little bit of the focus on the materials here. There's stained glass, as you can see the background and the pieces there. It's kind of rustic. I kind of did that on purpose, but there's a chain, as you can see, from the slave all the way over to the modern black man. In the center, the ancestor, the African ancestor, there's no chain around the neck. It's behind their neck. And that center figure is embracing the other two figures. And the embrace, it's funny, the piece started to talk to me a little bit after I put it together. Matter of fact, over the past few days, thinking about this talk, it really spoke to me, and I understood what I was trying to say more. And that figure represents like a mother's love, encouragement, hope that the future will be better if we work together. And it also represents the culture, heritage, and the richness of the African American community and what that community has contributed to our world and to our country. And now in Florida, with the policies against teaching about, it's like a nightmare. Mm-hmm. So for me, this piece is particularly relevant right now. We need to embrace all of our heritage, and this is just one example, but Black heritage is extremely important to this country. All right, so yeah, there's a piece of chain. That was kind of a fabric chain I took off of a piece of jewelry or something. And you can see the beadwork around the African ancestor. The faces happen to be African American, have African American features. So that's why when I thought of doing the piece, I said, I have the perfect thing. And I somehow dug them out from wherever I had put them, let me see. Okay. So this is these are some of the tools that I use. I don't have any pictures of my studio. I wish I had your studio, but I have a small bedroom in my house that I share with a litter box. My cat's bed has a 10-foot table. It's like I have to squeeze in to get to it, but there's enough space I made for all my stuff. And the glue that I use to adhere the pieces to the surface. By the way, did I tell you that the piece is mounted? I mounted it because it wasn't present enough, just being a small plaque. So I said, I gotta do something. So I do a lot of my artwork on repurposed cabinet doors. So I had a cabinet door and I said, this would be great. So I glued it, and that's what that is. So let's go to the materials now. We have 2 minutes. Okay. So Weld Bond is a glue that is It's a glue that dries clear, so it's really good for mosaics. It also doesn't dry fast, so you can still move things around as you're working. Sometimes I use a more clear glue for transparent glass if I don't want the glue to be seen. The top is this. This is a tile cutter. I do everything by hand. You go like this and you can snip glass or broken china. The bottom pieces are like dental tools. You move things around and, you know, take glue off. And the bottom is a palette knife, which I use to apply the glue. And I usually do it one piece at a time. Then the bottom here is nippers. These nippers are used to shape around and get a round shape out of a square, or for example. So this is an example of more of my work. I like working with religious themes. This is a Hamza. Hamza is used in Islam and also in Judaism as either the hand of Fatima or the hand of God. It's good luck if you hung it in your house. This is, I'm very inspired by the wildlife in our area. We used to live on Anna Maria Island, so I did a lot of birds. And this is an osprey, you know, fishing, which we had tons of. We used to have one that used to stand at the top of a telephone pole and eat the head and then fly off. But I wanted to show you one more thing before I finish, and that is that I also use broken china. I meant to put a piece in there, but I didn't. But I wanted to show you, this here is broken dishes. This is an example of actually it's a Judaica piece with the shofar being blown, but this is china, all of which was cut by hand. I do have a grinder that I use for the edges if they're sharp. And this is another one that shows the letters were done in broken china and the borders. So I use whatever inspires me. Usually the pieces I do are inspired by my materials and whatever the theme is that I want to draw, and I draw them either freehand or I use photographs. So I get inspiration from all over the place. And I really appreciate you being here today. And I just want to say one more thing, and that is that I'm really honored to be part of this exhibit and at this forum with all of these wonderful artists, and I feel really honored to be here. Thank you.
Yay.